Hello, everybody. Welcome into another edition of the Computer America Show. Actually, a pre-show that we're going to be doing. Got a terrific program planned for you in the second hour. EdgeWave is going to be here talking about, the gentleman is going to from Mike Walls was with the Navy
1 minute
and
until
cybersecurity,
showtime.
and we're going to be talking about cyber threats and what you can do to protect yourself. It's going to be a very interesting hour. And in the first hour, we're going to be talking to Bee2Bee Network area. Yasmin Clark is here, the company's, the network's founder and president. We're going to be talking about STEM and what it is they have to offer to students. Very interesting program. She's going to be with us in the first hour. So sit back, relax, enjoy 2 hours of Computer America Show coming to you in about 30 seconds.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello, and welcome into another edition of the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And I hope all of you had a wonderful weekend. I know we did. We had some guests stop in, and it was just a lovely weekend. I hope the weather is nice where you are. And, of course, the definition of nice might be different from one person to another. You know, I tend to like warmer weather. But if
I have friends who are out in, places like Chicago and, just the middle of the country up north, and they're getting a ton of snow. So to them, I want to say, as I use my iPhone real quick, that it is 75 and partly cloudy with light breezes out of the east here in South Florida. So sorry to hear about your snow, but it's lovely down here.
Yeah, I know.
Disney has never been more attractive.
Well, some people like the snow. I mean, Aaron is out in Colorado.
I feel like people like the snow when they don't have to deal with the snow. Like if they could just stay inside and maybe go out and just kind of enjoy the ambiance of snow, people enjoy that. But the moment you have to drive in it, or shovel your driveway, or do anything having to deal with the snow, that's when people don't like the snow. And on work days, that's obviously not good.
All right. Well, we have a terrific show planned for you. In the second hour, we're going to have Mike Walls. He is the Managing Director for Security Operations for a company called EdgeWave. And evidently, Mike was involved with the U.S. Navy and that background.
Another security expert, because you can never interview too many of those.
Oh, you can't. I mean, security is an important issue, and he's going to be talking about cyber threats and the new ones that are evolving and becoming more sophisticated. It's going to be an interesting hour, in hour two. In the first hour, we're going to have the founder and president of Bee2Bee Network, Yasmin Clark, is going to be joining us momentarily, and they do virtual tours. And I've been on their website looking at the Bee2Bee Network. Matter of fact, one of the places that they tour is 2J's, and I love 2J's, one of my favorite delis in South Florida. I tried to visit there.
They have a nice Reuben.
Yeah, they have also the Triple J is my favorite sandwich there. Anyhow, you can look at all the different locations for 2J's and other places in South Florida. We're going to talk about their virtual tour. She's going to be joining us momentarily. If you have a comment or a question, I would love to hear from you. Give us a call, 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you through. We also have, if you don't want to go on the air, you can go to any page at computeramerica.com. In the upper right-hand corner, it says submit a question. Just click on that. You'll go to our question submission page. You can type in your question for a guest, click the submit button, and Ben and I will see it immediately, and we'll ask that question on your behalf to our guests. It's just that simple. The other thing that we do here is, yes, we're a radio broadcast, but we also offer live video streaming. And so not only can you listen to the show, but you can watch the show. You can see myself, you can see Ben, you can see our guests. Ben has the really cool technology where you can not only see him, but you can also, he has the ability to display websites, videos, movies, so you can watch the video tour that we're going to be doing just by looking and see what Ben's up to. And you do that just by going to any page you get at computeramerica.com, and you'll see it says Show Lounge in one of the menu bars. Just click Show Lounge on any page, and the video stream will begin immediately, so you can see everything as well as hear everything. Of course, you can always get archives, video archives, or audio archives, or just click the archive button if you missed the show. If you're not watching us live, Monday through Friday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, you can certainly watch video archives over at Apple's iTunes, our own YouTube channel, SoundCloud, Stitcher. They all carry the audio archives. So everything you need to know is at the internet home of Computer America. That's computeramerica.com. It's going to be a short week this week.
Yeah, only 3 days.
3 days, right? It's Turkey Day on Thursday. And so we'll have some best of shows. There will be no video during the best of shows, just the audio that you can listen to if you're so inclined to do so. We'll have repeats. Monday through Wednesday will be our only live programming this week. After all, we have to eat turkey sometime.
You know, and it's weird because there's if you watch television, there are these ads that they're half and half at this point, and I really feel like this is something dividing the nation, where half the ads are saying, we believe in strong family values, and therefore we will be closed Thanksgiving. Enjoy it with your family, have a meal, enjoy the holidays. And then the other half is like, get in line first, and we're going to give, the first 10 people in line $1 million when they line up on Thanksgiving Day. And it's like, okay, so half of you want me to enjoy my family, and the other half want you to come and buy things. So it's
exactly.
Because there was that outrage. I think it really kicked off last year that more and more companies were they weren't happy with Black Friday at midnight. They wanted Black Fridays to start at like 6 p.m. on Thanksgiving, and so there was that movement, and now we're half and half.
Okay.
Craig, where do you stand on it?
I say you should, if you have a family, you should spend the holiday with the family, with eating turkey around the table or whatever you're going to be. Just spend the time with the family. If you don't have a family necessary, then just go out and have a nice time. That's what I would say.
Nice time, or go wait in line for $100 off a TV?
No, I'm just go out and have a turkey dinner, or just have dinner out.
No. I'm talking about the whole Black Friday deal. Well, you don't care. So let's just move on.
No, you asked me a question. Let me answer it. I think that if you get some great deals, why not? If you're willing to wait in line, and you can get a great deal. Of course, different people's definition of the word "great deal" differs. Saving $5 or $10 on an item that might cost a few hundred might not be worth it. But if you get like 20 or 30% off or something, well, then that's certainly...
Black Friday has always been traditionally the quote-unquote best deals of the year.
Mm-hmm. Well, then if you're looking for a great deal and you're willing to stand in the line out in the cold, if you're in a cold area, I say go for it. That's my opinion.
Okay.
You agree or disagree?
Oh, totally disagree. Totally.
You're saying don't wait in line?
No, because then those stores have to employ people who, odds are, don't get me wrong, young 20-year-olds who don't have, who can't go home for the holidays or whatnot, they don't mind working, the holidays and making 2.5 times their base wage. But, for a lot of people out there, they are forced into coming into the office, most retail locations, and, they have to. So it's nice to see companies saying, we're going to let our employees go home. We recommend you do the same. We'll be open on Black Friday for all your good deals. Don't worry about Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's what makes the world go round. People have different opinions. It's interesting that our opinions seem to differ more than agree, but I guess
because one of us is right. So,
and I'm wondering which one that is. Okay. Anything else you want to mention before we?
Yes, Computer America will be out at CES.
Oh yes, yeah, exactly. Ben's going to be out at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas. And you're going to be at Showstoppers. And
Showstoppers on the main floor during January 6th through the 9th. So bring you a whole bunch of coverage, a whole lot of companies, and lining up a lot of interviews with a lot of companies after CES. So, tune in if you want to hear some at CES coverage. And, just really, really looking forward to it and hyping it up.
And if you're out there, be sure to stop by and say hello to Ben. He'll sign an autograph for you.
Let me disappoint you. Instead of the comfort from your own home, in person. It'll be lovely.
Okay. All right. Well, our first hour guest is here, and from Bee2Bee Networks, and basically they do virtual tours. It's a very interesting project. Yasmin Clark is here. She is Bee2Bee Networks founder and president. Yasmin, welcome into Computer America. How are you? Yasmin, you have to unmute yourself. Otherwise, we can't hear you. Did we lose Yasmin? I don't know.
Oh, no.
I see her on there. You just have to. There it is.
Hi. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome to the show. Okay, what happened? Anyhow, so let me let's talk a little bit about the Bee2Bee network. Now, I'm a little confused because one website talks about how the Bee2Bee is providing for students, and the other one is all about virtual tours. And I'm sorry that there's a little confusion. Could you kind of clarify what it is that you represent?
Yes, that's a very good question. I get that quite a bit. Our company is unique because it was created to fund our nonprofit, the Bee2Bee Network. So the Bee2Bee Virtual Guide is our project. It's and it is the product of the work done by our students.
Okay.
And that's basically how we have set up the organization. So it's a real project that our students are actually working on.
Okay, so they are basically. Do you work with a hands-on STEM-based internship and apprentices for the the sole purpose of introducing young professionals to coding and software engineering? Is that part of your project, the Agile software development methodology?
Yes, that is correct. Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
it's
All right. Well, I just want to make sure because I had this whole introduction, and then Beth said, "No, it's she doesn't do that," And I said, "Well, it talks about students, so I had this lovely introduction for you," and then Ben said, "No." So
I mean, it's still applicable. It's just
yes, it is.
Just the thing that we're going to be talking about is the website. So.
Well, let's talk about how you got involved with this technology, Yasmin.
Okay, well, I have a 20-year story, so I'll try to make this very brief, but ironically, it was my experience that prompted me to start this organization to begin with, because I know from my experience what worked for me and my colleagues within my industry, and I wanted to share that with our young professionals. So, I myself personally, I've always loved technology. I remember, when it all started, my aunt bought my cousins and I our first Commodore 64 for Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, many years ago. And, I discovered that I had this innate understanding of how the computer worked. It was just, I didn't have to think about it. It just came easy to me. And I didn't think anything of it. I've always been a gadget person. Ever since I could remember, I like, buying different gadgets or playing around with my dad's toys, gadgets.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, but back then, our school offered typing classes. Okay, and naturally, I don't know. Do you remember that typing class?
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, because I had a computer at home, I was able to type 90, 100 words a minute without even thinking about it. And what I found out as I entered high school, and that this was a very marketable skill. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but when I graduated high school and I started college, and I started the software industry per se as an undergraduate while I attended NYU and working in New York City for a large insurance company. And I actually was able to get a very great part-time opportunity because I could type very well. So again, it went back to skills, the first time they were introduced. And at that time, I got very lucky. Microsoft had just introduced Windows. So companies were transitioning from Windows, from DOS to Windows, and I understood that very well. I was very comfortable with it. So I actually became, I must have been like 18, 19 years old. So I was the go-to person in the company for anything computers, anything, desktop publishing, what have you. And I quickly saw how having these skills, it was very valuable, and how it really helped form my career over time. I was introduced to great projects simply because they knew that if they brought me into, made me a part of the project, I would actually produce great reports, whatever the software, the features were. I got them very quickly and was able to use them. And getting back to that, I was very lucky because Microsoft at the time in New York City, I was on 57th Street on Broadway. They had a office about a block or two away. So for fun, I used to go and just attend their demos, and they were amazing because the demos were not only a good walkthrough of the applications, but they really walked you through the features. And this was a new language for everyone, right? So that really. And while I'm going to NYU, that really set the foundation for a career I didn't even think I was interested in, actually. So I went from, for example, doing desktop publishing, and then the internet came on the scene, and businesses now needed to transition and establish themselves online. So I actually started my own .com before I graduated college.
Yeah.
And yeah, I learned HTML, and actually through a users group. And I started teaching small business owners, many different sizes, how to set up their business on the web. And we worked on, their architecture. And back then, this was foreign. This wasn't even taught at NYU or any of the schools. It was just evolving. But because I was in the business arena and, this was brand new, I was able to pick up on it and really grow with it very quickly. So I went from teaching, for example, attending NYU to teaching JavaScript there at NYU. So it's funny how my path really grew, but the biggest, I have to say, the biggest influence I'd have to say is being in the business world and understanding what the business needs were and how this new technology were helping businesses and helping individuals too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
That's my 20-year story.
20-year story in a nutshell. All right. So,
yes.
so let's look a little bit at Bee2Bee now. Now, it seems to me that when you go to the website, and we're on there now. If you're watching our listeners, if you're watching Ben, you can see some of the things. The Bee2Bee network. You have different virtual tours that you're doing, and one of them is one of my favorite delis in Florida is 2J's, and you have. I mean, I can actually see the seat that I sit in when I go to the one in Palm Beach, or I go to the one in downtown in West Palm, Lake Worth, and it's kind of eerie seeing them, but it's the very accurate depictions. Now, when you have them as clients, so that they come to you to get their virtual tours put online. I mean, why am I seeing 2J's? Did you approach them? Did they approach you? How did that happen?
Yes, that's a very good question. I'm going to back up a little bit and just give you a little background. When I started the Bee2Bee network, I left a six-figure consulting job to teach coding. 5 years ago, this was unheard of, right?
Yeah.
Coding was unheard of. And, I went to everyone to raise funds for this initiative. And, the one consistent feedback I got from everyone was, good luck with that. Because it was hard explaining to everyone how important coding was, and it
Sure.
wasn't clear, and this entire movement was just foreign to so many people. So I funded this initiative with my own money,
Yeah.
okay, and slowly I started approaching businesses that I knew could benefit significantly from this new technology, and 2J's was one of them. We received sponsorship from great companies also, such as Whole Foods Market and many others that you'll see as part of the tour. In fact, that's still part of our strategy. We approach companies and they work with us not only because we do a virtual tour, but because of the purpose of our organization. So when you work with us, you're actually giving a young professional an opportunity to learn hands-on and enter this industry and really connect the dots in terms of how they can participate. You know,
Well, then
Go
talk
ahead.
a little bit more about the purpose of your organization, because and we'll get into more of the different clients you have. But if you have to sum up, what is the purpose of the organization?
The purpose of our organization is to introduce young professionals to software development, coding, all the new technologies, multimedia. We basically have a comprehensive program whereby these are all the STEM skill sets that are needed for the industry now, and we introduce our students to this in a very casual way in that they actually can relate to it. And that's why we focused on malls and this venue, because every student, that you know of, everyone, I know when I was growing up, the mall is a place to be. I grew up on Long Island, New York.
Mhm.
So the mall is a very big part of your life, right?
Right, exactly.
So to me, this made sense for them to understand, okay, if I'm learning this in school and it's just, a textbook course, how does this affect my daily life? So I chose this venue as a good way to really drive home the importance of learning the skill set and using it.
How young do your students are your students or the people that come to you? Because obviously we're seeing courses like this are being offered maybe in universities, and I know Ben, in high school you had some programming courses, did you not?
Funny, no.
Okay, well then no, never mind.
Exactly.
Not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just very consistent even today. When I started this 5 years ago, you did not hear of these new programs that popped up in terms of teaching. Um, and even now, my students, for example, my youngest student started at 12.
12.
Okay,
Wow.
12, yes, with us,
Hmm.
and they can go up to my oldest student is almost in his 30s. So, but what I found is really amazing is regardless of the age, we have them work together in small teams, and they actually produce professional products. And the way our program is set up, it makes it very easy for them to iteratively learn new skill sets without even realizing they're learning it, because it's something they can relate to. So it's more of a instead of a command learning, it's more I'm curious about this. How do I do this? How do I make this happen? And then that's how our students learn. But yeah, they can start as early as 12 or even younger, depending on the maturity or the interest. We're open to that also.
Now, what level are they working? Are they doing the 3D photography? Are they doing the coding? Are they doing? I mean, what areas or what classes do you offer?
Yes. Yes, well, the beauty of this project, right, and what we're doing is that it touches on many different skill sets. So initially, we introduce our students to HTML.
Mhm.
So they learn to code, that's the first. And then they get to choose what they'd like to do. So if we have a student that likes graphic design, they can then learn how this works on a website. They can design parts of a button or whatever they choose to. I actually have them gravitate to what they enjoy doing the most. If they like video editing, they could start with that, right? If they like writing, they can actually write, because there's many, of course, in this industry, there's a lot of room for good writers, right? It's more important than ever.
Yes.
So I really let the program is run basically on the student's interest, and then we plug in the training pieces. So it works very, it's very agile.
Now,
The way we teach.
where are these classes? Are they virtual classes, or do they meet in a classroom? I mean, how do you handle that? Where's the B2B network? Where do they go?
Yes, well, currently we're based in Orlando. We started in Palm Beach Gardens, and we have a location now in Orlando. We have one that we're actually building out in Jupiter. It's going to be at Harborside Place, and it's going to be open to the community. Not only students, but adults can come in and learn and participate on projects, and it's absolutely free to the public.
Yeah, I see. And I noticed that some of the different projects that you have are like at the Jupiter. You can see the different locations there. They all seem to be like South Florida, which is where you're based out of.
Yes, well, we started in South Florida, but we have projects in Orlando. We have projects coming up in Miami, and our goal is ultimately to have projects around the country. That
So,
is,
so
yeah.
when you have a company come on to you to it your site and you say, okay, look, we'd like to do a 3D virtual tour of our clothing store or whatever it might be, or our restaurant, or whatever it is, or of our mall. They come to you. Now they pay for that service, and then you're using those funds to fund the network so you can have students. I mean, go on a little bit of how you actually make money to do this wonderful work.
Yes, that is correct. In fact, our new product is called the Bee2Bee virtualguide.com. The Bee2Bee network is our main site. So if you go to the Bee2Bee virtualguide.com, you'll see most of our recent work, which is focusing on Harborside. The minute you enter the site, you'll see Harborside
Yes.
Place in Jupiter, and Harborside is an excellent example of this. They are our premier sponsor for this project, meaning we met with Harborside Place, and they were very responsive to our vision, and they partnered with us. So basically, you can actually tour the entire Harborside Place, and we're so thankful for Harborside. They really reached out, and they do many things within the community also. It's a great, you'll see, it's a great development. It's a great venue for travel, and it's all around. And so we partnered, and that's very important too, is the partnership. So it's not just the virtual tour. In this case, we covered the venues, we covered the music events that take place there throughout the week. And it's a full comprehensive experience that we capture.
I know, and it's beautiful photographs, and I mean,
Thank you.
I'm familiar with the area, and so it's kind
Oh,
of
good.
this to see this.
Yeah.
And everybody has to start someplace, so they're your primary sponsor. Are you hoping to get more sponsors for different locations as you start to spread out?
Yes, that is our goal. Our goal is to really increase the different venues that are part of the B2B virtualguide.com. And that is with the same model that we actually partner with the different venues that and by the way, we also maintain it. So the site you're looking at right now, it's much more than just the photos in the virtual guide. It's also in the back we have a great analytics piece whereby we can actually tell each store that participates how many visits they get per hour. We can so like someone physically walks in your store, we could tell you who walked into your store online. So it's very powerful information and analytics that we provide with this. And also as a participant in this program, we we partner with Google. Google actually gave us a sponsorship for this, so there's an AdWords account behind it. So we actually advertise. We do social media marketing and advertising for each business also.
So it sounds like you have a very complete package
Yes.
to offer the potential sponsors and stores. Now, is it always is it just an individual store? I mean, can it be just like a 2J's or is it an individual store, or do they have to be part of a mall? What are the requirements?
Oh, definitely. Now that we have this portal, we definitely accept individual stores because they now become part of the B2B virtual guide. Yes, and we like malls because again, it's a comprehensive experience. But yes, independent stores are also welcome.
How
So it's
long?
part of this.
How long does it take up to set up a store as opposed to a mall? I guess a mall would be a lot more complicated because there's a lot more stores, right?
Yes, it's a little bit more because we also cover the tour of the entire space within the mall. Whereas if we do a specific store, and this is primarily based on square footage, right? So if we do a store, we could do, if it's 500 square feet, 1,000 square feet, it's much less work than an entire mall, which, 25,000 square feet, what have you.
And again, I see the Google tie-up because when you look at them, you can see it's very familiar to the Google Maps and how you can kind of walk.
Google Street View.
Google
Yes.
Exactly. Listen, Yasmin, we're at the bottom of the hour, so we're going to take a little break, and then we'll get and talk about the other services that you provide, and the kind of equipment specialty equipment you use for this these projects, and we'll get back to you momentarily. All right.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're listening to the Computer America Show. Ben and I are talking to the B2B Network, Yasmin Clark, who is the founder and president of B2B Network. We're going to continue on with her. We're going to take a short commercial break. We got a brand spanking new News Tips Bulletin Review from Marty Winston. That's all coming up here on the Computer America Show. We will be right back.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons. Accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
You're kidding. I have holes in my socks older than she is. Hi, Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America, this time the D-Link Vigilance Camera. If you have standard Ethernet and a 12-volt DC supply or power over Ethernet, that's all you need to feed HD from the new D-Link DCS4602EV Vigilance Camera. It mounts in a squat, weatherproof, and vandal-proof dome has pan, tilt, zoom, pointing control, infrared lights for 60 feet of night vision, wide dynamic range to cope with high and low brightness scenes. It can do 1080p at 30 frames per second, and it's an on-vif camera. Bottom line, the new DCS 4602 EV Vigilance is by far the best quality and most capable D-Link surveillance camera we've ever seen. Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Right, welcome back to the Computer America Show. Thank you, Marty Winston, for that News Tip Bulletin review. Was that a new one? Nope, Craig might not be here. All right, so, yeah, well, that was Marty Winston with a News Tip Bulletin review. And, yeah, we are right in the middle of talking to the Bee2Bee network and their B2B virtual guide. We're just about to get into it. And, yeah, we kind of left off before the break talking about, how these stores can, choose to join into the network and things like that. But one thing that immediately leaps to mind is that these storefronts, I mean, they're actual physical locations, and so they have a little bit different approach to virtual storefronts. Which, I mean, if you're a virtual store, you can swap inventory all you want. You can change pretty dang fast just what it is you're selling. But I would imagine with services like these, that once a picture is taken or once a virtual guide is created, how do these stores kind of keep up with their inventory? Because do you just show up and say, okay guys, look your best, you're getting your picture taken, polo shirt, and you just kind of take the best photos of the store that you can? Or is there any kind of emphasis on keeping the inventory that these stores have up to date?
That's a very good question. I want to preface that by saying that our relationship with each client that becomes part of the virtual guide is a partnership, and it's with the understanding that we do update on a regular basis. And what this site solves for most small businesses is basically bringing them new business. So that question of how do I shop in cyberspace but yet support my local businesses, this is a solution, and it's a solution for them. So we work very closely, we schedule tours, and the other piece of this which we've really started focusing on are the items that are on sale or with presented in the tour, maintaining them in terms of updating them as time goes by. The store let us know how what needs to be updated, and then that is also a supplement. And for some stores we actually do the social media marketing piece, so we actually link through social media specific things that are on sale or the focus of the week, and that also bring clients into the store with the focus on a specific product that the store is interested in selling.
So so this isn't just to bridge the gap between brick and mortar and allowing them online and letting them sell online, because that is a thing that a lot of companies and a lot of stores are really looking into. But this is kind of trying to take it the other way a little bit, trying to bring the virtual customer and trying to say, hey, check out what we have and maybe come in and go from virtual to brick and mortar.
Exactly, that is very correct. Yes.
That's and that's definitely counter to what we've been seeing for the past 5-6 years, but maybe a lot of people out there kind of have forgotten how nice it is to actually go somewhere and physically touch something before you purchase it off of a list online.
Exactly, and there is a tour I'd like you to take a look at. It's called the Native Visions Galleries. It's an art gallery. We actually, one of the first projects we did at Harborside, we did a full mapping of the store. Something like a piece of art. You can't tell if you just see it in a regular shopping cart. It's nice to walk around the store. You can click on it. You can actually read more about the creator of the piece of art. You can actually see the measurements, and you could look at a piece of art and say, would that fit in my office, or would that fit, would this be a good gift for someone? There is that perspective that you don't get from a shopping cart. Needless to say, helping a local business right, sell services and supporting that business so that that business it enhances the community also. So that's the piece. Those are the pieces that are missing from a regular shopping cart. I mean, from what some of the stories I've heard, some of these businesses are somewhere in the desert, and they have workers living in trailers. And if you're in a community, you want to support your community if you
Right.
can, and you really want to, also. Uh, be aware of what's available in your community, and that's the bridge that our the virtual guide, the B2B virtual guide, creates for local businesses and for anyone that's interested in specific products.
So how would you kind of see your music a little distracted? There you go. How do you see stores using this service? Do you see them, kind of linking it on their homepage, using it as kind of like a banner, but hey, take the virtual tour, or is it through Google and they search maybe shops at enter mall? How do you see people using the service?
We actually do all of the above. Um, we really help. The biggest challenge, especially for small business owners, is this new technologies. There's so many different applications to it. We make it easy for them. So basically, once we do a virtual tour, we can maintain the site, maintain the tour in many different ways. One of the things we can offer is we can manage the social media piece. So what we do is we would post the product daily, whatever frequency the client would like, and it would encourage online users to go on and click. They would click on the product, and they would get an option of taking a tour of the store each time. So it's really opening a completely different avenue for most small business owners, and that has been very effective. The other piece that we do is we do the Google marketing. So behind this site is a full engine whereby we can actually list each item, and we do the AdWords campaign. So if you're selling widgets, we will have you appear number one at the list for widgets. Your venue will appear. That is what we do. And the other piece of this is that we also run banner ads. So if you're looking for widgets, you will see widgets at b2bvirtualguide.com, and you click on it and you go to that user store, that client store. So that's we pretty much cover. We offer a comprehensive package to help with the complete online marketing of a business.
So how does a company, say, I don't know if a virtual tour is going to help us. How do you, determine whether they're going to? I mean, let's say if it's an accounting firm. Well, do they? Do we get to look at the
See the
accounting
soulless
documents?
eyes of the employees.
I guess. I mean, how do you help a company determine whether this type of service or a similar service or something completely different is right for them?
Well, it really depends on the business, but we offer so many different aids in marketing. So if it's not a store and if it's a professional service, we do Google advertising. We do Google campaigns, and Facebook campaigns. So we can actually make sure that you're exposed to within your geographic area, whichever area you choose, and those ads appear on Google. So if someone's typing in accountant, your website will appear. Okay. In fact, we have some clients that we have many different ranges of clients, but one that comes to mind immediately is we have a personal trainer that we work with. And he wanted not only to show the gym, of course, which is one, but the biggest part is to actually promote his service. So we do YouTube videos. We'll market those also online. So user clicks on the YouTube video, and they actually can go to the site. Also, we actually link everything together, so it's easy. It's a one package deal. So the business owner, whatever solution they need, we customize it ultimately for them. They don't have to be a store per se, but you still need these additional marketing services nowadays.
Well, are there any kind of clients that you maybe wouldn't take? I mean, let's say a medical doctor or offices or a lawyer, law firms. I mean, is everybody fair game for what you have to offer, or you just think, hey, there's something this wouldn't work for you,
Basically, I would have to say, I mean, everyone could use advertising. Everyone who uses online advertising, whether it's either if it's maybe for them, a professional, could definitely use YouTube advertising or Facebook or Google ads. We do it all.
Yeah, of course, in the old days, when things have changed, it was always frowned upon. I guess lawyers shouldn't advertise, the ambulance chasers. But now you see them. They see billboards on the sides of buses, and I guess you see ads for legal services. I guess this would be no different, would it? Or
No, you're right. In fact, we do full production, so we do videos. So we actually do, which are really commercials, but we do YouTube commercials, or we can do commercials for TV. But for the most part, YouTube is a very efficient tool in marketing these types of services.
Well, you got to be careful. I mean, you have a video of, say, here's our client leaving jail. We've got him out, something like that. Probably wouldn't want to do that. That might be considered poor taste. But, but I guess, here's the thing. How long does it, the process takes? Someone contacts you from start to finish. Does it depend, again, on what the client is and what the service is? I guess that would seem to be. But just general, about how long does it take to get something like this up?
It definitely depends on the client, because if it's something as simple as just a virtual tour, a simple virtual tour, it would depend then on the square footage of the venue. If it's a new business owner just starting up, not sure where to start, then it's a different plan whereby we sit down, we'll figure out, okay, should we start with Google advertising? If the store's not ready yet, maybe we start with creating all their Facebook pages and getting that set up on all their social media piece. So it really depends on the business and where they are at that specific time.
So what type of specialty equipment do you use for the virtual tour?
For the virtual tour, we are unique in that there's so many virtual tour vendors, different types of virtual tours. We were very fortunate in that we actually was invited by Google to, and this is a whole process we went through, to establish our own agency. What that means is that we had guidelines in terms of what equipment we needed to purchase to meet the virtual tour standards of Google, and so we used very high-end equipment, and we actually took it a little step further, because when we first started, we started with another Google agency, and then Google saw what we were doing, and we were so fortunate that they gave us our own agency. So now we've taken it further. We use many different types of software to really complement and improve the system, and we're still improving it as we go. So from the software to the hardware, which is the camera, we use very high-end cameras. One of the things we use with 360 is a fisheye lens. Okay, that's a must. And there are many different equipment coming on the scene right now, but we stay ahead of that in terms of our investment in the right equipment, and the post-processing too is a very big part of it. We use the best processing for our, and you can see the photos speak for themselves, right?
Yes, no, they're beautiful, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Future plans for your company, and talk a little bit about that, and how you plan to tie this in with your nonprofit efforts.
Okay, yeah, so one of our future plans is really to grow. So again, we kind of did things the opposite way. We created this company to fund our nonprofit initiative, and it has been a very good fit. But one of the things we'd like to do is extend our offering around the country. So we would love to see a B2B network workshop in every single state. That would be the dream, and our students would be working on their community projects, and of course it will all feed into the B2BVirtualGuide.com.
Okay.
Well, everything that you're doing, though, and I've said it earlier, this seems to be the next logical step, because Street View has, I think, become kind of to the point where people expect it. Whenever they want to look up a business, they always type in the address and they go to Google Street View. So
yes.
Going inside of the store is something that people want to see where it is, and then if they get the option to see inside of it and see what it looks like inside, I mean, that could just be, it's so natural. I think for the technology that we're seeing lately.
Well, didn't we do a story or talk about that Google was planning to extend their Street View to go into certain merchant stores, Ben?
They had a couple, but I never really heard back from the plan. Like they gave a few examples, but I never really heard more from them saying that they were going to do it to every store. They just kind of had the examples, and then it kind of went away.
Yes, we were lucky enough to be part of that team, that first team that was allowed to do that, and that's how we grew. And the fact that we have a portal now, the B2BVirtualGuide.com, you will see those capabilities grow much, much more, because now not only can you see inside, you can actually look at an item on a shelf and purchase it right then and there. So we're really taking it to the next level.
That would be taking it to the next level, because right now basically you're just looking. So you're saying you can actually walk into the store virtually, see an item, touch it, say, okay, I want this, and purchase it.
Correct.
All without leaving all within the same application.
Correct. Yes.
You got your work cut out for you.
Well, if you look on the site right now, take a look at Native Visions Gallery. Okay, that is an art gallery, and what's interesting about what we're doing, we were the first in the country to do this with Google Virtual Tour technology. So you're actually part of history right now as we grow. We're the first, and this small Harborside place in Jupiter is the first official mall. It's the first official partnership of this kind, where we have been given carte blanche to really work with each business. So not only now can you go shopping, but you can actually visit, the community and actually get a feel before, if you're coming from another country, if you're coming from another state, you can actually experience it fully.
Yes, I can't wait till I can go into 2J's virtually and buy a sandwich.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have a couple different. You have like beauty salons, and you have very obvious storefronts and restaurants, as we've been saying off and on throughout the interview. And you mentioned all this analytic data that you're collecting, because as a partnership through Google does one thing very, very well, and that's analytics.
Yes, that's correct.
How is the whole analytics side of this playing into it with all these different kinds of companies? Because I can assume that like a restaurant is going to want different information than a beauty salon.
That is correct, and the back-end piece of it is customized. In fact, a big part of our program was not only introducing technologies, but the many different technologies companies that are out there in this space. So one of the things that we've done is we've partnered with several different companies. One of our recent partners is Click Software, and they specialize in the visual display of information. So when we give our businesses a report, it's very simple, it's very easy to read, and it's done in such a way that it doesn't take.
Whoop! Did we lose?
Sounds like it.
Yeah, we might have lost her. Let's see. Yasmin, are you still there?
Just a little hiccup, folks.
Yeah, it happens. There she is. Okay.
Oh yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. We lost you for a moment there. Why don't you back up 30 seconds?
Yeah. So what I was saying is that one of the things we've done at the Bee2Bee Network is many different technology partners, one of which is called Click Software. So, and they specialize in business intelligence software. So when we present data to a business owner, or when we meet with them to figure out what their needs are, we're able to capture specific points of interest that they need. That information. So each report is unique and it's easy to read. It's not difficult. It's very straightforward. And most importantly, our students benefit from understanding and learning these new technologies and these new different softwares too, because now their resumes are being built with real experience. So it's a win-win all around for everyone.
So
hello?
Yes, we're here. So if you had to pick a company or business or area to create a virtual interactive.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hi.
Can you?
Hi.
okay.
Can you hear us? Perfect.
All right.
Yes, yes.
And let me just take a shot in the dark. I assume that the company, the business or company or area that you'd like to work with, let me guess, is New York City.
You know, I'm from New York, and I know New York City like the back of my hand. Yeah, this would do very well in New York. That's for sure, yeah. I agree.
So if you had to pick a company or an area to create a virtual tour for, where would it be, and where would you put yourself and why? Yasmin?
Yasmin, can you hear Craig?
Yes, yes. Because I find the mall experience has worked very well for us, I would probably say the Mall of America in Minneapolis.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
That would probably be one of our biggest projects because it's one of the biggest malls in the world. so, so we would love to map that mall. It would be, a very good experience. So, I would have to say that'd probably be the biggest one.
Okay. So again, now if people want to contact you to take advantage of what it is that you're offering, how do they do that?
Okay, they can call us. We have an 800 number. It's 855-233-2331. It's BB1.
All right.
It's very simple. 1-855-BB1, or they can go to a website at the Bee2Bee network or the Bee2Bee virtual guide and contact us directly for a virtual tour.
Yeah, exactly. And if you again, we have that posted up on our website at computeramerica.com. If you didn't have to write it down, just go to computeramerica.com. It's right there on our homepage, and we link to the Bee2Bee network for your convenience, so you can see these tours and get more information about what it is that the Bee2Bee network has to offer. And if you're a student or you're looking to acquire some of these skills, and do so you're saying it's virtually free for students?
Yes, yeah, absolutely free. Yes.
That certainly would help through on the student loans.
Yes, that is the goal. Yes, that's correct.
Reduce your student loan debt, and building your resume with industry relevant, proven, and demonstrated skill sets. This might be something or a venue or to approach again at the Bee2Bee network. Yasmin, before we say good day to you, anything else you want to let our listeners know about what it is about what you have to offer?
Yes, I'd just like to also just talk about some of the most important points of this virtual tour as they take a peek at it. This is a really green alternative to shopping. They don't have to leave their homes. They can literally go online. And, for those who are at home that actually can't go out and shop, this is a great solution. And these are some of the great byproducts of the service that we are experiencing. For example, the elderly or the veterans that, for one reason or another are not able to go out and, in crowded spaces. This is a very comfortable experience. So one of the things I'd like to say, we'd love to have more feedback if users go to our Facebook page, like our page, Bee2Bee Virtual Guide, and let us know your thoughts.
Have you ever thought of taking it to the next level, because obviously the headsets that are coming out now for virtual gaming could also be perfect for this. You just put the little headset and you're in a virtual world and do your shopping that way?
Yes, that is on our backlog.
The Oculus Rift. Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. Yes.
Because even Google has its own cardboard one. I mean, that where you can put your smartphone in there and kind of and just look around the store, just do it virtually. I think I think it would be a natural for what it is that you're doing out
for sure.
there. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Well, Yasmin, again, thank you so much for being here with us and letting our listeners know about what you're doing, the Bee2Bee network, and that's BEE, then the number 2, and then BEE, Bee2Bee network. You can see it again at Bee2Bee Virtual Guide. That's the letter B, 2, and letter B, virtualguide.com. Or again, go to computeramerica.com and just click there on our homepage, and we'll give you the link right to. We'll take you right there to the website for yourself. Yasmin, thank you so much for being with us here on today's show.
Thank you. My pleasure. Have a good day.
And you
Have a
too.
good one.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so there you go. Again, B2B Network, Yasmin Clark, and I think it's obviously a very worthwhile effort. Anything that gives students the opportunities to learn technology like this and do it for free, which is amazing, and to literally carve out a niche for yourself to become specialized in areas like this and have a career in development of these types of virtual reality worlds. And I really do think that looking at, the Oculus Rift and things like it are just literally around the corner. Some of them are already available now. And
The whatchamacallit, the one that was just put out by Sony in the Galaxy, not Sony, Samsung.
It only works with Samsung phones though at this point. But yeah.
Right, but they sold out, by the way. A little bit of news there for you. On Amazon and I want to say Amazon and like eBay or their website or something like that. But in Best Buy. On Amazon and Best Buy, they completely sold out.
So couldn't you see using something like this with B2B? I mean, of course. Perfect. I mean, you just go in and walk in the store, and now you don't have to, click here. Just turn your head like you're in the store itself, looking around, and you're at your home, but you can do this stuff virtually. I think this is definitely coming down the pike, and it's going to be really, really interesting. All right, coming up in the next hour, we're going to switch from virtual reality to virtual security, or not virtual, anything virtual about it, security. EdgeWave is going to be joining us, and we're going to be talking to a gentleman who has credentials from the U.S. Navy, and he's now the EdgeWave's managing director of security operations. His name is Mike Walls. We'll be introducing him in the next hour of the show. Also coming up, yes, another brand spanking new news tips bulletin review from Marty Winston. What's he going to be talking about this time? Oh, Office 2016. Okay, Microsoft Office.
Why? You have Office 365. You don't even need that.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what he says. Okay. That's all coming up in the next hour of the Computer America Show. 347-884-8881 is the number to get John to get you through. We're going to be right back in just a moment. You're listening to the Computer America Show. Stay with us.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into Hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And again, we thank our first hour guest from the B2B network. If you missed any portion of that, you certainly can listen to it again. We archive all of our shows at ComputerAmerica.com. Just click on the archive selection from the menu bar on any page at the ComputerAmerica.com, and you can listen to any program that you may have missed, including this one. It's going to be a short week for us. Again, it's Thanksgiving week, so we only have 3 live shows this week.
So for any of you out there who have not trapped or hunted your turkey yet, you have like 2 days left.
Yes. Maybe if not, you can always go.
You can always take the lazy way out and go to the store and buy one.
Or you can go to a virtual. You can have a virtual turkey.
That never works. You know that, Craig. Why would you mention it?
You can walk around the turkey and poke it and it's like sort of virtually here. Maybe we'll get supermarkets. You can go to a supermarket, on the B2B network. They'll have supermarkets.
That might work when we eventually get the system of, grocery store delivery.
Yeah.
That might work, where you can kind of, say, I want this and this and this, and you fill up a little virtual basket, and then it gets delivered.
Why not?
We can, kind of imagine all these scenarios, but the technology's there. It just has to.
Yeah.
It just has to all work together.
Yeah, and we can get, maybe we can have you can go into the store and you can see the clerk there, and maybe you can have a virtual chat with them to buy your virtual groceries, which are then finally delivered to you in reality. Especially for people who are infirmed or have physical uh, disabilities.
Or who just don't have cars, or are perhaps not even lazy. I think at this point, society kind of expects. This is something that kind of interests me. Just society kind of is moving away from service-based and more like immediate-based. Like people want their delivery of their food now. They want everything from Amazon delivered in 2 days. Like they don't mind waiting a little bit longer if it comes to their doorstep, and people like that. Even if you aren't infirmed or lazy or whatever, just having the availability of it being delivered to your doorstep is marketable.
Yeah, and you're getting more and more cities where you're getting like the same day delivery. I mean, Amazon, we're seeing services like this where I'm not talking about drone delivery, but I'm just talking about some guy driving up and making the delivery.
Amazon is trying to make that a reality, and they, I believe, in a couple places have an hourly delivery. Like they'll deliver things, very specific things from their warehouse to you within an hour.
But that has to be, you have to live in a major metropolitan area?
No. It's only like, I think like Oregon's like one of the only places that actually does it. But like an Amazon warehouse has to be in your area, and you have to be within delivery range, and the item that you want has to be in that warehouse.
That's a lot of ifs.
But it makes complete sense. I mean, they can't deliver you, hey, I want a trampoline, and I want it now. It's like, why don't keep those kinds of things on hand? Like, if you want that immediately, walk on down to Walmart and pick it up. But, delivery. People expect delivery.
I don't know. I can see trampoline delivery services and things like that.
Very niche. Very niche.
Well, it won't be as niche as you think it is.
Greg, I feel like you're jumping to conclusions.
Exactly. There was a little pun in there, the jumping. Anyhow, let's introduce our next hour guest. I know he's waiting patiently. Again, if you have a comment or question, 347-884-8881. I'll get you on and get you through. Or just go to computeramerica.com. On any page on the upper right-hand corner is their submit a question link. Just click that and submit your question, and we'll ask it to present to our guest on your behalf. So the company name is EdgeWave. And EdgeWave's mission is to enable enterprises to confidently embrace the cloud-connected world. They do this by providing simple but highly effective data security and advanced threat protection in bundled solutions that are affordable, scalable, and easy to use. EdgeWave delivers protection via sandboxing and the world's most accurate URL classification service, privacy by ensuring your data is encrypted in the cloud, in motion and at rest, and policy by enabling and enforcing granular network policy management at the individual user level. Now, here with us to explain exactly how all of this works is Mike Walls, who is EdgeWave's Managing Director of Security Operations, and he comes with a lot of qualifications. Mike, welcome into Computer America. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. How are you guys?
We're doing well. Yeah. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what your background is before we get into EdgeWave? Because I understand your background is with the Navy and what you were kind of responsible for that.
Yeah, so I did spend quite a bit of time in the Navy. I actually went to college with the Navy and retired after 28 years and a couple months of active duty. And I came up as a pilot, flew airplanes off of carriers, but about 3 years before I retired, I ended up in a command, which is this particular organization was a task force. So I had 4 organizations that reported to me, and we had a number of different lines of operation. We had electronic warfare, we had information operations, and we also had cyber. We had cyber readiness for kind of characterized it as fleet operational cyber readiness. So we were responsible for ensuring that the ships, the aircraft squadrons, all the shore installations were cyber ready. So we had assessors that would go out and do cooperative assessments. They would coordinate with the IT staffs in these various organizations and and basically assess their networks to try to find out if anything bad was going on. And sometimes there was really bad kind of national security stuff that they found. Sometimes there was criminal stuff that they found, but it was good because it helped organizations in the fleet really understand their networks. We also had the non-cooperative assessors. That was the Navy's red team, or cyber adversary team. So every service has one, and the Navy's resided in my organization. And these were the guys who would actually remotely hack into networks, essentially. They were trained hackers using the latest and greatest tactics and techniques of hackers, really from across the spectrum. It wasn't just nation state that they were focused on, but any level of hacking. And then we had some folks support the Navy acquisition community. So if the Navy's buying a weapon system, whether it's a box or an airplane, my team would go out and help do the penetration testing for the system. In that organization, I happen to work for. I was directly reporting to the Navy 3-star admiral who was in charge of Navy networks and Navy security, cybersecurity at the time. His name was Vice Admiral Mike Rogers. He's now Admiral Mike Rogers, Director of NSA. Also dual-hatted as Commander U.S. Cyber Command. So he was responsible for the Navy piece when I was in my command, and I was direct report to him. So that's kind of my background in cyber. We had, I will say that, along with the readiness piece, we had a significant cyber event happen on Navy unclassified networks where we actually had to operationalize ourselves to fight this. An adversary off the network, and it was a named operation. It was called Operation Rolling Tide, like Operation Desert Storm or Iraqi Freedom. So it was a fairly high-level event, and it took my command and 2 other organizations to actually fight that fight. So, and I characterize it as a fight because it was really the first DoD operation at that level on a DoD network. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It was an interesting way to go out.
Well, let me ask you this. So all this experience that you've learned and all these scenarios and all
and real quick, I just got to say that we have had a couple of different security experts on, and one of our correspondents from the show, who actually co-hosted for a little while, Charles Sandell, also came from the Navy, right? The Army or the Navy? Probably the Navy. But yeah, Charles Sandell. And it seems like a lot of the a lot of the top hackers and things like that, or not even hackers, but security experts,
all have a military.
A lot of them come out of the armed forces. I mean, are the armed forces really employing and training that many security experts?
Yeah, I mean that is a great question, and I love talking about this stuff because, and at the risk of sounding overly parochial for the military, but I think there was a guy named General Alexander, who you probably remember from the news. He was responsible for NSA before my old boss took over, and he began an initiative to essentially buy about 5,000 or 6,000 billets, or I don't know how you characterize it in the civilian world, but positions, I should say, to basically build out a cyber force across, and these folks would support national missions. They would support service-oriented missions, all the way from the individual service out to the folks who are fighting the fight forward out in CENTCOM and Pacific Command and so forth. So he started this effort to build up a cyber force, and the amount, and it was interesting because my organization actually stood up the first 2 Navy cyber protection teams. So they were the first 2 Navy-specific cyber protection teams, and I helped sort of shape that and got a really good look at the training. Unfortunately, I didn't get it because if I'd gotten it, I'd be making a lot more money than I'm making now. But the training these folks get is just unbelievable, and it's I would say it's a combination of government training and commercial training. So yeah, to your point, I think not only are these folks getting the training, but they have the operational experience that's really critical. They most of the real cybersecurity experts that you're mentioning, I think, are coming out as trained offensive type people because they're either red teamers or maybe they have some offense experience in another capacity that I'm not aware of. But my guys were red team trainers, so they were trained how to hack.
Right.
That's kind of a long way of answering your question.
No, it makes complete sense. And part of my brain, I know it's not true, but part of it's like, these hackers that are, these security experts and people who are trained by the military, like when they're in the military, they're running around on a nuclear submarine, and they're punching hackers in the face, and they're fighting them off, with like all the alerts and whistles going. And then they go out to the, to the civilian world, to the, just your average commercial database and security and whatnot. And, they see a hacker or, a denial of service attack, and they sit back, drink their coffee, and it's like, oh, these guys, China again, and they just hit a couple buttons and they go away. Like the amount of training it sounds like that the military gets is not overkill, but definitely adequate for most things that you would see in the commercial world.
Yeah.
And I think that brings up a good point. In other words, and I started to ask that question, that your time in the Navy, how has it prepared you for security in the civilian world?
It's interesting because if I can, I'll give you a little bit of background of how I got to my job. When I was getting ready to transition, I'd called Dave McCara, who was our CEO, who actually I used to fly airplanes with, just for mentorship. I said, hey, this is what I've been doing for the past several years. Do you think industry is interested in this kind of background? And he said, absolutely. So we had talked for quite some time, over probably 5 or 6 months, and he finally said, hey, I think I got a position that might fit you at EdgeWave. And the reason why I bring that up, and of course I took it, but, I bring that up because what I was saying, what we did, and not just because we did it, but because I'm coming out of the Navy with not only a cyber operational background, but a warfighting operational background, and because industry is always talking about how this is a cyber war, which I agree with. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not kinetic, so people aren't getting killed, thank goodness, but it's a constant bombardment.
Are they? I mean, look at things like Stuxnet. I mean that would cause a scenario where people actually got hurt. Those kinds of attacks.
Yeah, I think so. So those types of attacks are certainly possible, but I think industry, doesn't really deal with that necessarily. Right. They're kind of struggling with getting people stealing their intellectual property, and
it's an information war.
So it is an information war, and I think there's what Dave, my boss, was interested in my background was that I look at things as not administrative, but as sort of in an operational context. And I'm not sure if that makes sense, but that's kind of what I brought to the EdgeWave team. And we think we can really help industry out because we look at things much more at kind of a broad level. And let me make this analogy. It's sort of like, the average IT and maybe even the average security person is constantly putting out fires, wants something to put on a network so he can take care of an issue, so he can go about, the rest of his business. You can't fight that way. You've got to raise yourself to a higher level. You've got to look at the whole battle space. And I'm using military terms here because I do think it's directly translatable. Because if you look at a network, you've got to look beyond your own network. You got to look at your partners' networks and their partners' networks. So there's a much broader view of security, I think, than that you have to take. And that's why I say it's kind of you got to kind of take an operational view, understand what the impact is going to be if you get hacked, not just on the legal side, but is it going to impact your business operations? If I'm an airline and I get hacked, can I fight through that hack, or am I going to have to shut my whole operation system down for a day or 2 days until the hacker gets cleaned off? Or can I fight through that, isolate, mitigate while I'm still operating, albeit degraded. But so that's kind of the way we view things, if that makes sense.
No, it does, and especially when you have services like that that really, really can't afford to lose a day of operations. If you're an airline or major airline, the last thing you need is all of your scheduling to go wonky, because I mean, that's going to affect untold thousands of people. You know, you really can't. You have to have it. You know, where it's either
today's people kind of expect a lot of services to have automation down to a T.
I mean, it has to be. You have to be like hot swappable. You have to be able to go in and do what it is you need to do without bringing the whole structure down while you're doing that.
Yeah, and the parallel is, you know, in the military, and you know, my experience is mostly Navy, although I have some joint experience. But you know, if you look at how we rely on networks for command and control, these are things the military has been thinking about since we started relying on networks. So, and that's not to say industry is not, you know, aware, or industry is so far behind. I just think it's because the military folks are immersed in this at the tactical all the way up to sort of the operational level all the time. It's just things we think about, and we bring that out to industry where it's directly translatable.
So, what would you think, Mike, in your opinion, would be some of the top security threats that are impacting the general public, not obviously the military, but what do you think that we have to? I mean, you hear things like denial of service attacks. You hear all the normal stuff, and I'm not making them see any lesser than they are. I mean, they're still very, very serious. But what are the issues for today that we should be worried about, if that?
Yeah. So I guess it depends upon who you are and what you do, and it's sort of a broad kind of answer. But you know, if I'm a, you know, we know what the threats are against the healthcare industry and the financial sector, and even, you know, some of the sectors that really get into intellectual property, whether it's EDU or defense contractors or whatever. We know what those threats are, and we know they're advanced and they're sophisticated, and we know that they generally are not, you know, just you know, setting up watering holes trying to catch, you know, an individual doing something stupid on the internet. So you look at, and then so we have that group, right? We have the group that has been fighting these threats for survival, really. But I think it's really interesting to take a look at the individual. You know, what are they worried about? They're worried about that random, you know, that email campaign, that spam campaign that's going to sucker them into clicking on a link that's going to affect their bank account. So I think you know, that's not a real good answer, but it really depends upon who you are. If you're somebody that's got a lot of valuable information or data, you're going to be dealing with advanced, the industry term now, as you know, is advanced persistent threat. To me, that's just a term. It's just these threats are getting more and more advanced and sophisticated, so that's how I characterize them. But that's what you'll be dealing with if you're a large organization like that, or a small organization that has valuable data. If you're an individual or a group that really just has your bank account, then you've got a different problem that you've got to face, and I think there's a spectrum, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So obviously things are becoming more and more sophisticated, more and more involved. I assume you would agree that that these cyber threats are evolving. And would you say they're becoming more sophisticated? I would think that they would be, but you tell us.
Yeah, I absolutely think they're becoming more sophisticated, and I think not only are they becoming more sophisticated, but a lot of times when I talk to people about threats, I talk about how traditionally we try to bin different threats into different categories, and there are a lot of paradigms out there, but there's generally 5 or 6, right? You've got nation states, you've got organized crime, you've got insider threats, you've got hacktivists. Unfortunately, now we have the terrorist threat that I think is something that we should start losing sleep about, quite frankling. And then you've got sort of the lone wolf, what I used to call the basement hacker. You know, the guy in his mom's basement, sitting in his underwear, just trying to.
Why is it always his mom's basement?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good question. Maybe it's the mama's boy.
Yeah, it could be maybe it's the dad's, or the uncle's basement, or just old person. But no, I mean, I certainly hear what you're saying. I mean, even the phishing sites, the emails that we get, the Prince of Nigeria is so old, but still people are still falling for that. It's an unbelievable.
Not just is it old, but it's a classic because it's still in use.
But I mean, they're becoming, even the social engineering behind these threats, Mike, are becoming more sophisticated. I mentioned this the other day that I got an email from Apple iTunes. It had all the logo, everything looked really official. It said, "Oh, you just downloaded Chris. What was this? And if you didn't, click this link to make sure let us know. It said if you didn't do it, let us know by clicking the link. Of course, and my first inclination was, oh, let me go click on it. And then of course it said no, don't do that, because we say that all the time here.
Yeah.
It was like an official, and sure enough, when I hovered over it, it wasn't iTunes. I could see it was some weird link in the UK somewhere in Moscow. So I knew immediately that this was just a bit much more clever, more sophisticated phishing scam. And I guess they're becoming, and even the grammar, the English used to be so broken. Now it was grammatically correct. It looked really good. I got nothing like that from PayPal too, but it wasn't PayPal. When the link was PayPal.
Yeah.
So
to your point, I mean, I think the threat is going to continuously advance and become more sophisticated. But I think you're hitting on something when you were just talking. It's interesting to me because we tend to view our defense against these types of threat as purely now this is going to be heresy, I know. But we view the solution as purely technical. But I believe, because I've seen it in action, that call it 99.9% technical, but there's a huge human component to this as well, to defending against these kinds of threats, and that's not just from the cybersecurity folks, but also the users. And you hit on it. It's education. I believe, and I can't quantify this, but I imagine that if we could really train our workforces to do things like you did with that spam email, we could reduce the attack surface considerably. But we don't, because it's always the user, not always, but the majority of the time I think we still have users at sort of the basis for how these hacks become successful. And sometimes it's education, sometimes it's negligence. We have maybe you have an IT staff that's not following whatever policy they should be policy. So there is a human component to this, and I think it's definitely worth looking at and trying to kind of do as much as you can on the human side, I guess I would say.
Well, and it kind of also fights, though, what people are kind of learning lately. It's that they're learning that technology is getting better and better, easier to use and easier to use, because there is a huge movement for everything to be, who needs a manual anymore? If you can't figure it out in 2 seconds, then something's wrong. And it's just like they're able to use more technology today than they ever could before, while knowing less about how that technology works. And I feel like that's kind of the opposite of good security practice, where you need to know just what they're doing, how they're doing, and how you can avoid it. I mean, so teaching people to do that is kind of anti-consumer electronics in general, where it's don't worry about it, plug and play, and you're good to go.
Yeah, but I don't think you'll ever get. You're making a great point, but I don't think you'll ever get to the point where user behavior is not going to be an issue. It may not be. We may get to the point where it's not the primary issue when it comes to vulnerability, but it still comes down to a user doing something, clicking here or visiting a website, or not using good password, just not practicing good cyber hygiene in general. And we're there now. That's where we are now.
Right.
Where we're going to be in 10 years, maybe you're right, but I still I'm call me old school, but I think that I was once talking to a friend of mine who was responsible for the command. He worked in the command in the Navy that does the network monitoring, the forensics, and the malware analysis when something happens. And we were talking about scalability of some of these security functions. And I asked him about his SOC, and he said, I said, so how big is your SOC? And he said, well, I won't tell you that, but what I'll tell you is automate, automate, automate. And when you think you've automated enough, automate some more. But there's always going to be that space where you need somebody looking at something and making a decision about the data that's being produced by the automation, because the automation will cover, and again, I'm making this up, but let's say 99% of the issues. You need not just the human, but the right person looking at that final 1 or 2%, because that's where the sophisticated threats are.
Right.
That's where they're looking at behavior, and behavioral analysis, that's got to be automated too, to the extreme.
Yeah.
But there's got to be someone looking at that data that knows what they're looking at.
Well, you mentioned sophistication. What makes a hacker sophisticated? First of all, we're not talking about a hacker, with making him sophisticated with a martini in one hand and a cigar in the other.
Pinky out. Pinky out.
No, that's not what we mean by
smoking jacket.
Yeah, exactly. That's not what we mean by sophisticated. Let's talk a little bit about what does make a hacker sophisticated, and we're gonna have to do that after the break, Mike.
Sure.
Yeah. So we're going to take a little break, and then we'll continue on. We're talking to Mike Walls. He is the Managing Director of Security Operations for EdgeWave, and he's enlightening us about the state of security, cybersecurity today.
Very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. 347-884-8881. I'll get you on and get you through. We have another brand spanking new News Tips Bulletin review from Marty Winston, Office 16. 2016. We'll be right back with that and more. Stay with us. Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Turns out I used to date her mother. Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America, this time Office 16. You know, the collaboration features are better. We upgraded from Office 2013, and we like the new main menu feedback entry that lets us make immediate reports of problems or suggestions. We very much like that most enhancements here are not disruptive. We can pretty much use our Office apps the way we always have and pick up on the new goodies as we need them and at our own pace. A new Tell Me What You Want to Do feature. It's a shortcut to finding all our alternatives, and a new smart lookup right-click opens up an insights pane that goes beyond definitions to search wikis and the web for more info. We find that very useful. Bottom line, Microsoft Office Professional Pro 2016 manages to make work a little easier without disrupting the way you work to make that happen. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Yes, short week, by the way. Just want to make sure everyone remembers that. Don't be looking for new shows on Thursday or Friday. But they will be best of, so, good enough. So, welcome back to the Computer America Show. We are talking to Mr. Mike Walls right now, the Managing Director of Security Operations out at EdgeWave. And, we're having a nice conversation about, just the general state of hacking and security and all that kind of thing. And real quick, I just wanted to clarify something I said a little bit earlier about, the state of everything getting simpler and simpler while, people, where education needs to play a bigger role in, just general employees' knowledge. And, I'm completely for that, and I just want to say that I was not advocating that security should get to the point where everything is so simple that you don't even have to think about security, because it's never going to be that way. Our good friend Charles Tendell said that he used to do penetration testing, and one of the easiest ways that he could hack into a company's system was to either put a USB to put a USB drive on the floor in front of the office, and inevitably someone would plug it in and he'd be off to the races, or he would walk in, pretend like he belonged there, and they let him into their private computers. I mean, it's so simple for to con the human element of it that the answer is definitely automation, but
that's social
the education needs to happen.
That's what you're talking about, social engineering of the
right.
Exactly. So, Mike.
And it would always be the weakest part.
Yeah, I guess you would agree with that, Mike?
Yes, I absolutely would, because, as I said, we had the Navy Red Team was under my roof, and I'm quite fortunate because I was lucky enough to draw the deputy director away from the Navy and bring him into my organization. But he would tell you that's exactly how the Red Team could get into a network. The drop a CD or drop a thumb drive, even to the extent of gaining physical access. Piggybacking through a man-trapped entranceway or an entry control point. It's just people are looking for expediency. People are naturally curious, so they're going to look for the quickest way to do things, and they're probably going to be curious enough to plug things into things they shouldn't be plugging things into. So
you're saying curiosity really can kill the cat.
Indeed, it can. And I'm not a big cat lover, but I do love dogs.
And worst off, I really feel that people are nice, and that can hurt someone, just like you're saying. If you run up to a door and say, "Hey, wait, can you hold that for me?" And even if you have to swipe a security card just to open the door, they'll hold the door for you and they'll let you in.
Yeah.
I know. In my organization, I worked in what's called a SCIF. It's essentially it's a place where you can handle classified information out in the open because the whole building is secured. And we had a policy where you had to badge in, you had to swipe your badge to get the lock to unlock. But we had a policy that every person had to walk through the door, hear it latch closed before the next person could swipe their badge. And people fought it. People who shouldn't have been fighting it fought it. But it's, it really, and again, so maybe this is what what I'm talking about. This is how we view at EdgeWave, and in my past life, we view security in a much broader context. It's the whole, the whole spectrum of things that you need to look at to be secure, from physical security to user behavior to your technical, how you architect your network and how you apply different technologies in your network.
Well, and again, and the physical ways too. You mentioned the door, but sometimes I've seen companies that have turnstiles, and you have to go up to the turnstile, and so you really can't have that scenario. You say, "Oh, hold that turnstile for you." That doesn't work anymore. So, but even then, I guess there are ways around these things. They find
The
clever.
literal piggyback, where you hop on their back and go through the turnstile.
Yeah, that would probably work. It might look a little funny.
Yeah,
it
but
might draw some attention.
Yeah, the security guard that's watching the turnstiles is gonna exactly. Exactly. So I started asking you, what makes a hacker sophisticated? And it's not a smoking jacket. So what is it?
I think it's really not necessarily how smart the hacker is technically. How if the hacker can develop a tool, because I think if you look at different organizations, and I think organized crime is like this. The folks that develop the tools are just kind of a gear in the whole system. But what makes them sophisticated in my mind is they actually apply a methodology. And I've talked about this in different places, that it's specific things that they do, and there's always different paradigms, but I kind of break it down into 4 steps or so. They do reconnaissance, and as you guys probably know, reconnaissance can be a second, or it can be a month. It could be all virtual. It could be virtual and physical. Then they do and when they do their reconnaissance, they're obviously looking for vulnerabilities, and they're also going to try to match their whatever exploit they can with the vulnerabilities. Then they attack, and once they attack, they're going to spend a lot of time post-exploit trying to move around a network laterally, trying to access different parts of the network, and then it ends up with an operational impact. So that's how I view sophisticated attackers. They actually go through this process, and this process can be very detailed, particularly in the reconnaissance phase, which is really interesting to me, because that's how we fight wars in the kinetic world. You do a lot of work in the reconnaissance phase, because if you are squared away there, if you get as much information as you can, the rest of it tends to be easy. Now, I will say that what happens after the hack is sort of what we've seen in the world. Sometimes we get involved in these things and we don't know what the second, third order effects are going to be, but you can see that the sophisticated hackers are doing what they need to do on the left end, the left of launch as we call it, to make that attack and make that post-exploit phase, and finally make the operational impact as effective as they can. That, again, I apologize if I'm using too much military speak.
Yeah,
But,
that's okay. No, it's
sort of how I characterize.
There's enough technical jargon in there that I think a lot of people are going to pick up on it.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine. No, that's good. So, all right. So basically, we hear, obviously we hear hackers stealing personal info, but they do it. Do they do it on a one-to-one basis, sort of like the iTunes thing, or are they targeting large groups? I mean, the bottom line, it's profit, really, right? They're trying to steal
Yes.
information, which becomes great financial reward for them.
The information they can then sell to someone because they want information.
Yeah.
Did you guys read the latest and greatest on the JP Morgan hack by chance?
No, I don't think we've had an update, or we haven't read an update on that.
So this is why this conversation is great, because when that hack happened in 2014, there was attribution to Russian organized crime, stealing data so they can do exactly what you guys were talking about, selling that data to people who would be interested. And I think last summer, July, they ended up arresting, I think it was 2 Israelis and an American, young people, not teenagers, but younger people. And they recently indicted them. I think it was a week or 2 ago. And what's coming out is that these 3 and maybe a couple other folks took that JP Morgan data. Now it's unclear to me, and it may be unclear in reporting at this point, whether or not they hired hackers to steal the data, but they got a hold of that data one way or another from JP Morgan, from Scottrade, and then from E-Trade and maybe some other organizations. And they took that data and they did they set up what's called the pump and dump scheme. Are you guys familiar with that? I'm not a finance guy, but it's sort of the Wolf of Wall Street thing. They set up a fraudulent investment company to invest in penny stocks, and they used and I think if you remember, JP Morgan was saying, hey, there's no account information, and there's only customer contact information. Well, that's what they used. They reached out to these customers from JP Morgan and the other organizations, and they talked them into buying these penny stocks. And as soon as the stocks got to a certain level, the bad guys dumped the stock, made a bunch of money, and then exited. So I think on one of those dump events they made about $2 million, and that was just one of the schemes. So I was amazed at that. I was given a talk on the JP Morgan hack right as this news came out, and everything had to shift away from the traditional, well, they're selling it on the black market, and then we don't really know what happened to the data, when this is the real manifestation of what happened. And I thought it was fascinating.
That's really clever. I mean, that's it's not untraceable because obviously they got caught, but it's kind of like very, very targeted advertising.
And bottom line is, they did get caught.
They did. I think the bad guys always get caught, quite frankly. I hope.
Well, yeah, you can hope that, but it's the ones that you don't hear about that worries me.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's very true. We don't know what we don't know, but it was interesting because you always do ask the question. Okay, so what happens when my data? Because at the same time, I got my notice from the Office of Personnel Management. That's, remember that hack last summer, where all those government employees, all their information got.
Yes.
So I was one of those, and my wife was one. We both got our notices, and it kind of occurred to me, is like, okay, so someone stole it. What are they doing with it? Where does it end up? And they have the credit checks and all that kind of stuff, but I think most of us, I may be wrong on this, but I think most of us sort of view this as, okay, someone steals it, it goes somewhere, but I don't really know what happens to it. That's why I think this JP Morgan hack was so interesting, because they show you what happens with that kind of data. So I guess the moral of the story is, just because a company that you deal with tells you that none of your account information got hacked, you still got to watch out. Someone still may be coming at you.
No, and let me ask you this, because you're obviously a cybersecurity expert, and so I'm going to ask you, what keeps you up at night when it comes to hackers and cybersecurity threats? What worries you? Because what worries you is going to worry most of us, I would think.
It used to be everything that worries, really my finances. Someone getting into my finances.
Ah, okay.
I wake up one day and I have no bank account.
I hate that one.
I know, not that I have one now. My wife, I shouldn't have said that on but she's not listening.
Yeah, send her a copy.
But I mentioned this earlier when I talked about the different types of hackers. I take a step back and not call them hackers, but cyber threats. And what keeps me up at night is information that's available on the wire that terrorists can get at. That's what keeps me up at night. Or what are terrorists going to do with information? How are they going to use that? It's not even how they're using the internet, with all the encryption and all that kind of stuff. It's how they might use that information against targeted individuals. And as a former military person, obviously that keeps me up at night. But are they going to use that as part of some scheme to plan their next attack? That's kind of, and it goes to, it's one of those things we really don't know, and that's what this whole fight is about. We really don't know. We don't have a history of conventional conflict that we know what happens when the wars are fought. In the cyber domain, we don't really know. We can make assumptions, but I think it was Tom Friedman who said after 9/11 that 9/11 happened because we had a failure of imagination, and that's sort of applicable, I think, to cyber. There's a lot of stuff we don't know about what can happen in this domain. And I think we find out a little bit every time something big happens, every time a big company gets hacked, every time a government organization gets hacked, every time we see, a terrorist organization leveraging the internet. So that's kind of what keeps me up at night. And my kid, my 7-year-old, keeps me up at night.
So,
well, as soon as your 7-year-old starts using your personal information that he hacked from you, then you have a problem.
Yeah, no kidding. I have a 15-year-old, and she is not on social networking, so I'm pretty lucky there. Yeah, at least that's what she tells me. And I've looked at her.
Maybe she just doesn't want to add you on Facebook.
What's that?
Maybe she just doesn't want to add you on Facebook.
Yeah, she's blocking me from Facebook.
So let's talk a little bit about EdgeWave. Now, EdgeWave focuses on detection rather than prevention. Is that better? Can you elaborate a little bit more as why you're taking that angle at EdgeWave?
Yeah, this is again, my background, particularly in the Operation Rolling Tide. This is sort of what my organization did, and the techniques and the tools aren't really important, but that's where I sort of got the notion. And I think Admiral Rogers actually have said this in public, and not that he's the only one that said this. But it's this whole notion that it's not a question of if you're going to get hacked, it's when, right? And so, and I don't think that's defeatist. I think that's just a reality. And I think where industry is predominantly today is with they sort of look at security in two contexts. One is I need to prevent hackers from getting into my network, and related to that is this quest for a silver bullet. I got to get the latest and greatest technology or technologies on my network so I can breathe and so I can sleep at night. The problem is, even though I think industry is starting to move toward detection with SIM capabilities and more capable IDS, we're really not into we haven't accepted the fact that you got to have both. You want to make it challenging and difficult for hackers to get in, but you also need to be able to detect them operating on your network. And if you don't have both, then you're going to have huge gaps either way. So if you don't have prevention, they're going to get on your network and they're going to get stuff off of your network before you detect them. If you don't have detection, you're flying blind. You don't know what's happened once they get past your perimeter defenses. Gartner actually, I was at the security conference in Orlando recently, and they actually started professing that, and they did it in the context of resource allocation. One of the speakers said something like, instead of 90% IT, 10% security, we really need to start 60-40%. So there's a recognition, I think, in industry that's starting to get traction that you got to fight this thing in the full spectrum, and that means you got to do your best to prevent it, and then you got to minimize the time between actual penetration or compromising your network and detection, so that you can mitigate the effect or the impact that the hacker's going to have. That's kind of a long-winded answer, but it's something that we evangelize because we believe it, and we have prevention technology in our portfolio, but we have launched a new capability at our company that, and I hate to do a shameless plug here, but
that's okay.
We're moving this way because we think that's really the answer. It's what industry needs to focus on.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was the Chase Bank or the JP Morgan Bank, but there was some hack. It might have been a department store that there was the initial hack that I think they caught and whatnot, and then then they had to come out and make a statement like a year later saying that we just found the APT, the advanced persistent threat, that had been siphoning data off for the past 10 months. Like that, they really didn't focus any on detection, and even though they found the hack and they closed up the hole that the hack got through, they didn't do the detection part, and it compromised them for a whole year.
Yeah, and to that point, when you said the retail, it reminds me of the Target hack. The other piece of this thing on the detection side is not just technology, and this is I've already kind of shown my hand when it comes to where I think humans fit in this problem. You need the technology, but you got to have the right people operating the technology. And I bring up Target because Target had very sophisticated technology that was alerting, but there was no response to it. And I don't know if it was because it was being ignored, or if it was because IT staff was overwhelmed, or maybe they didn't understand what the alerts were. You really need. That's why I say you've got to have the right people with that security that expertise operating this technology, in my opinion. And that's one of the reasons why I came back out to EdgeWave, because my boss knew that I could tap into those folks, those analysts that have both offensive and defensive capabilities. Because imagine what an advantage you would have if your analyst understands hacking because he was a hacker, and not just kind of a play around hacker, but knew current hacker TTP and was developing exploits in the hacker community, the good guy hacker community.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, what an advantage.
Yeah, and that's just. But isn't that kind of one, like recruiting these hackers and people who were doing these kind of things? You definitely get a leg up, but shouldn't there be programs that kind of are better at teaching these? We started this whole interview off with the military, obviously having a huge vested interest in training people like this. But I mean, in just everyday colleges and high schools and just the whole education system in general, shouldn't there be more programs that teach you that instead of having to come from a hacker background?
I think yes and no. I think there needs to be more focused training, and whether it's in an academic environment or whether it's in a vendor training environment. But I don't think you can ever get a better advantage if you've had people who've been operators. So I think there's a difference between academic understanding and real operational application of a skill. And maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to build that educational system that gives people a firm foundation in technology, but also gives them practical application. Because a lot of these hackers are not, these kids are coming into the Navy out of high school, and they're training them, and they just have a gift for this.
Right.
And they're not engineers. They're not trained PhD software developers. They're just really smart kids who have an operational view of things. They see how things work, and they know how to apply it.
Yeah, we say that all the time. Where for even a lot of people listening to the show, technology just makes sense sometimes, and you can turn that around and obviously do a lot of things with it. Hopefully for good. We hope that all of our listeners are using their power for good. But to each their own.
We have less than a minute left, so I know we probably don't have a canned answer for this, but what else can we do to protect ourselves? Public. Anything you want to make a suggestion at this point?
I really think it goes back, and this is not a canned answer, but it's something I truly believe. It goes back to education. And I don't mean that sort of in a formal context, but whatever we can do to make ourselves aware of what the threat is, but probably more importantly, what we do on the wire, how we behave.
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing we can do, because that's going to reduce that attack surface down and make it just much more challenging. And you may remove all the non-sophisticated hackers that are just doing, crazy spam email campaigns that nobody's gonna,
Mhm.
nobody who's been trained is gonna fall for. But
Exactly. Although they are getting better in that too. Like
yeah, absolutely.
that iTunes thing, that was just really off the wall. Listen, Mike, we're out of time, but again, I want to thank you for being with us here today. Again, the website is www.edgewave, edgewave.com, or you can go to computeramerica.com. We have a link right there on our homepage to the EdgeWave website, and check it out. Mike, it was a pleasure, and thank you so much for being with us here on today's show.
And thanks for having me. You guys have a great Thanksgiving.
And you too.
You too.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, see ya.
Hi. Bye-bye. Okay, and that about wraps it up. Again, I want to thank our first hour guests from the Bee2Bee network, from Yasmin Clark, founder and president, of being in the first hour. And again, the second hour, we just heard of Mike Walls, Managing Director, Security Operations for EdgeWave. Thanks to them. Coming up tomorrow, we're going to have Savant, S-A-V-A-N-T, on the show. Basically, they have a remote control they call the Savant Remote, and they're calling it the only remote you will ever need for your house. And they have an app, and they have the remote. This looks really, really slick.
90 seconds.
It's got a big color screen on the remote. It has voice recognition for personalized entertainment. It looks like it's a very cool device, and we're going to be hearing from them on tomorrow's show. So if you're into home automation, definitely want to listen to them on tomorrow night. Again, Savant. And in the first hour, we're going to do computer and technology news. That's brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They are the official optimization software of Computer America. Again, I want to thank all of you for listening. 3 more days to Turkey Day. Wow.
Can't wait.
Yeah. And, we need a break. And it's going to be nice.
I can tell. You seem a little distracted.
All those terrorists out there that worry me. But again, thanks to all of you for listening. And Ben and I will see you same time, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, same place. So until tomorrow afternoon, this is Craig Crossman hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon.
Have a good one, everyone.
Have a very good one.
10 seconds.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, and again, thanks for watching. And Ben and I will see you here tomorrow for our Tuesday show with Savant and Computer and Technology News, brought to you by Slimware Utilities. Have a good one. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye.